Through the Third Eye. Book 1 of the Third Eye Trilogy. Chapter 5. Missing Details. They agreed 𝐂𝐇𝐈 could go home nearby for his lunch and return in 2 hours. After 𝐂𝐇𝐈 left, 𝐂𝐇𝐁 closed down their systems and Shali walked to the balcony. She looked down at the security guard posted below their room and waved a hand in gratitude. Then she went back inside and pulled the balcony doors shut behind her. She turned the deadbolt and tugged stiffly to ensure the doors were locked. They finished locking up the regression room and told the guard posted in the hallway they would be back after lunch. A nearby restaurant tucked in a side street served as their escape from the grueling morning session. The colorful yet heavily worn tablecloths made the already dark restaurant appear even dingier. The pungent smell of curry shrouded the room, which had a low ceiling and only 2 small windows. The windows were half blocked by heavy wool curtains, trapping the smells in the room. In near silence, they munched on bread and crackers dipped in thick hummus and savored a tasty selection of kebabs. They devoured a Jordanian lunch of lamb cooked in whey and yogurt sauce, served on a bed of Egyptian rice with pine nuts and almonds. After eating, while quietly sipping on a strong sweet tea laced with cloves and other Eastern spices, 𝐂𝐁 said,
"We've been working together for almost 2 years now. It's been good to work with you."
I'd say happy 2nd anniversary, but the 2 months that we were involved don't count. We didn't get a damn bit of real work done while we were so busy banging away at each other's bodies. The time that I went back to LA after we broke it off doesn't count either.
𝐂𝐁 laughed, thinking of the 3 to 4 months after Shali went home to Los Angeles after their big emotional clash. During her absence, 𝐂𝐁 immersed himself into his treasure-hunting regressions and rapidly and unsuccessfully went through 3 other translators. 𝐂𝐁 quickly responded,
"Yeah, but we both realized that we had to work together. It was meant to be."
Professionally, that is. The strict hands-off policy is in full force, you know.
Of course. Absolutely. I know you have the hots for me, but you will just have to be disciplined and stick to the job.
Yeah. Right.
Their eyes connected just for a moment, then both looked away. After a few seconds, 𝐂𝐁 looked back.
I know I've been a bit secretive, and I have sensed your frustration with me.
No shit, Sherlock.
𝐂𝐁 smiled with a blush of embarrassment.
Well, this morning, I finally gave you more details on the secrets, even though it wasn't much. I guess if I can't trust you now, then I never can. So I am going to bring you into my little world.
Shali raised her eyebrows in anticipation.
Good. These regressions have really intrigued me, but I need more than you have been willing to give to me. I can't dig in the nooks and crannies in a regression unless I understand more about what is behind it.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Here comes the confession. You've been patient with me, so where do I begin?
How about you take away my past life regression virginity and tell me the source of your regression wisdom? There are more to these protocols than you are giving me.
She gave him a sheepish grin to help him break the ice.
Yeah. It's time for me to show you the ways of the world, young lady.
𝐂𝐁 took a deep breath and looked to the far side of the room while he thought back to how his quest began. He lifted the teacup to his nose and sniffed the deep aroma of cloves.
I worked at Stanford Research Institute in Silicon Valley several years ago. Many years before I joined SRI, back in the 1970s and 80s, the U.S. government was running an eclectic collection of secret black ops programs. Under the cover of foreign spy projects, U.S. intelligence agencies opened their undocumented checkbooks for PPOs or parapsychology operations. The agencies were looking for any means that could give them an edge on their enemies, perceived or real. CIA spies inside foreign governments during the Cold War had convinced them that both the Russian KGB and the Chinese were doing their own advanced PPO programs, including astral projection, out-of-body experiences, remote viewing, and past life regression, among others. All of these disciplines, if they can be called that, have had avid followers for millennia. Rather than be left out of the global PPO game, the U.S. intelligence programs followed suit and formalized their own PPO research. The Cold War made it all legit.
Shali's face showed puzzlement and astonishment. She listened intently to Clay's every word.
The U.S. agencies were not about to let the Russians get the jump on them, so they poured a lot of this black ops money into PPO research. SRI became the hub of their PPO programs. The government piled mountains of cash in their hoppers as the programs ramped up. Extensive laboratories were built for all PPO disciplines at SRI. Some were secret and others were not so secret. The remote viewing programs were made the most public to distract attention from the deeper, more esoteric PPOs.
Shali interjected.
I saw a sci-fi channel program once that talked about remote viewing. They interviewed some guys who were at SRI during that time. It was on a ghost show or something. Is this the same thing? The same guys?
Yep. The remote viewing programs still have an active, almost cult-like following today. However, on the contrary, the past life regression or PLR programs were kept under wraps. Real quiet. They set up PLR work teams across the country and even in a few friendly countries like the UK, Canada, and Australia. The PLR program managers were experimenting with regressions wherever willing subjects could be found.
Clay took a sip on the sweet tartly spiced tea and then continued.
Some programs, such as remote viewing, had less than stellar results but were thought to be more valuable to intelligence than others. Hence, they received additional funding and had a favored status for damn near 20 years. Other government security and defense agencies picked up the financial tab for remote viewing and kept it alive longer than other PPO programs, well into the 90s. A few of the other programs, such as PLR, proved to be very successful and actually exceeded all expectations. But PLR did not have applicability to immediate military or intelligence needs. Running a PLR protocol on a subject could never track down Osama bin Laden or Saddam Hussein hiding in spider holes or mountain caves. Information from PLR regressions had little value when it came to finding culprits or dealing with them in the present. PLR could not find crashed Russian planes or missing submarines. So you can imagine what happened next.
What?
Clay leaned back in his chair and lifted his eyebrows high. He sighed and continued.
During the early 1980s recession, Congress caught wind of these socially unacceptable and politically incorrect PPO programs. How could the CIA and other security agencies spend precious taxpayer dollars on paranormal research and ghost stories? The budget axe came swinging to end the PLR program. Only a few programs, such as the Stargate remote viewing program, survived. PLR as a government program, despite having surpassed all expectations, was destined for the proverbial cutting room floor. The entire program was shut down, boxed up, and sent off to the archives at SRI. All researchers were reassigned, released, or terminated from employment. There was simply no substantive justification of PLR protocols to the U.S. intelligence community. The programs had been boxed away and nearly forgotten about.
So is this when you came to SRI?
A few years later, I became a senior analyst in the research department at SRI. I was accustomed to regimented and disciplined research, having spent the previous 10 years in U.S. Army intelligence. I was happy doing research for several years at SRI, but after a while it became a bit boring. Fortunately, they assigned me the task of cleaning out the archive storage for old programs. My project assignment involved thousands of boxes of terminated or completed research projects from SRI's 60-year history. I had to sort through thousands of defunct and obsolete programs. I was given 3 junior research analysts and an admin assistant for 18 months. We were to review each program in the archive, write up a synopsis, and make recommendations for disposition. SRI's management reviewed the recommendations and directed disposition of records for each program.
So the PLR program papers were all available to you and your team?
Sure were. Having a team of analysts and an admin to do the tedious work on the boring projects left me plenty of time to dig into the more interesting ones and read the research papers. We were 9 months into the cleanup when I came across the PLR program. 182 boxes of research papers carefully indexed, labeled, and categorized. The people running that program had been amazingly organized. What is most surprising is how carefully they documented everything in the midst of what must have been a rapid and emotional program termination. I was amazed at how easy they made it for me to pore through the tons of information. The summaries and indices led me directly to the juicy tidbits I needed to exploit the PLR protocols.
Exploit. And wasn't all of this proprietary or classified or something? How did you get permission to use it?
Because enough time had transpired since the end of the programs at that point, and the documents were declassified as part of my project. The decision was made to digitize and publish the PLR papers through a small group of universities. As soon as we posted the PLR material at the first few universities, there was a big hullabaloo. I figured it was all going to get yanked back, so I got copies of the material I needed for myself, legally. I managed to grab copies of the protocol procedures and a complete copy of the SRD, the Soul Regression Database. That's all I really needed. When Shri revoked the PLR distribution, we pulled it all back, but it had been public domain for a few weeks, so I got my copy legally from one of the other universities, not through Shri.
Sounds like there's a conflict here.
Yeah. I got into a big legal hassle with the institute. They backed off and let me keep the copy, but I had to resign. Since I didn't have a job and had time on my hands, I started digging into the protocols and database, looking for ways to make a living.
All right. So that's how you got material, but what was really in it?
The primary objective of the program was to develop PLR technologies and methodologies to enable consistent collection of information from human souls. This information on the souls was to be stored, cataloged, and correlated for undetermined intelligence purposes. The overall program was divided into 2 main streams of work. First, developing and refining the regression protocols, and second, building a soul correlation database through actual regressions.
You sound like you're giving a college dissertation.
Clay chuckled back.
If you worked with this stuff as intensely as I did, you'd be talking like this too. Anyways, besides the protocols, the PLR program built a sophisticated database system that precisely documented and archived the soul information acquired during their PLR sessions.
So this is where you got the initial database. I wondered why it was so large and had different regressors' names listed. I knew you couldn't have done all of this.
Exactly. They had designed computer programs to correlate different souls and lives. The archived material included sophisticated Fortran computer code and a database of regressions on 9,800 human souls. Each had been regressed using various PLR protocols developed by the program. Perhaps 25,000 regression sessions drew out as many as 5 to 10 different human lives for each soul during each session. Some souls only had a few lives, but a few of the more mature souls had as many as 100 lives. Most souls seem to have between 10 and 30 human incarnations in identified human history.
With raised eyebrows, Shali asked.
Human incarnations? Identified human history? What do you mean by that?
Clay paused for a moment, then slowly rolled his head in a large circle to stretch out his neck. This morning's session had left him a bit tense. Shali waited patiently, but anxiously.
Please don't think that we only reincarnate as humans in this world that we live on.
Shali sat back in her chair with a blank stare.
We won't go there yet. That's a different lunch. After we find the secrets, maybe we can have some fun with that.
So you are begging off for now?
Clay smiled.
Yes, but not because I am still hiding something. It is going to take a lot longer than this lunch to explain.
He paused.
Anyway, the database program and the SRD, the soul regression database, were stored on 8 reels of obsolete magnetic computer tape. I got some Stanford grad students to help me convert everything. In just a couple of weeks, I had the entire SRD loaded and running on a laptop, on a modern database program. This is what we've been using in our work.
Clay stared off at the wall for a moment, reminiscing. Then continued.
When the government's PLR program finally shut down, they had 78 different protocols. The later, more advanced protocols were combinations of electronic and environmental techniques. Starting at Protocol 75, the process was designed so the subject remembered nothing from the regression session. That's where I focused my work. Not only because I planned to look for hidden secrets and treasures, but also because I'd rather not deal with a subject after they've learned what lives they lived before. There would be too many variables, out of my control.
What was in those hundreds of boxes of research?
The boxes mostly contained material on how the protocols were developed and refined. I didn't spend much time on that. I got right to the meat of the discipline, how to regress someone and milk them for information about a previous life. After some experience, I tweaked the protocols to better meet my needs. Then, just like we've been doing, you guide the subject to their previous lives and to the life between lives. If you get really good at it, you might not only get the soul's guide, you might also get other elders' souls. They know all the good stuff from the past, if you can get them to talk.
What about the database? And just what exactly is in it beyond what I've seen?
You've probably wondered why we record, transcribe, and translate every regression. When I started, I vowed to devote time after each regression to completely transcribe, document, and archive the session. I really wanted to capture details of the sessions in case the subject died. We can use that regression data to correlate across different lives and soul pods.
So what about the correlation stuff?
As part of the SRI project, we sorted through thousands of souls, which related to hundreds of thousands of human lives stored in the SRD database. Trying to correlate human incarnations and soul pods was like solving a giant 3-dimensional, 100-row Sudoku puzzle, a proverbial humongous Rubik's Cube. But once I really understood what to look for in the database, the task got a lot easier. I bought a commercial database correlation system and built lots of correlation rules to do the heavy work. This would have been nearly impossible for the researchers to do 25 years earlier, so extensive soul correlation is somewhat new and untouched ground.
A coy smile slipped across Shali's face.
So, with this fancy correlation engine, are you going to be able to find my soulmate?
Clay fired back a grin of his own.
I already checked out your soulmate. He's not here now, but will be born when you are 76 years old. You'll be a spinster this entire life and will only be able to work with me, professionally. You can leave this soulmate all your money when you die at age 97. The two of you will have to do a better job of coordinating your next lives if you want to enjoy each other's bodies.
Shali laughed out loud and punched Clay in the shoulder from across the table.
Come on, what did these researcher guys find out about soulmates?
Well, starting with the 154th box of archives, I found study papers about linked lives and linked souls. First, they found that many souls like to do certain things, even in their different incarnations. When a soul reincarnates to a new life, they may seek out the same hobbies, professions, and even gender preference they have experienced in previous lives. They did a special study correlating child prodigies.
So you mean a child prodigy could just be an incarnation of a soul that was good at that specialty in previous lives?
Bingo! At the time of the PLR program, they regressed an 8-year-old girl in Scotland. At the age of 4, she could sit down at a piano with virtually no guidance and play magnificent complicated pieces of classical music. After several regression sessions, the team determined that her soul was the reincarnate of Amadeus Mozart, as well as a half-dozen other historically famous musicians before and after him. The study showed there were 64 cases of child prodigy regression during the program. The different fields included music, mathematics, science, literature, dance, and athletics. Of the 531 past human lives identified in the 64 child prodigy regressions, about 75% of the soul's previous lives also focused on that one particular area the living child prodigy excelled.
Okay, what do you think? Madame Curie, Louis Pasteur, Florence Nightingale, and Dr. Gregory House from the old TV show? Same soul.
Clay smiled at her quip.
You've got the idea.
So what did you mean by gender preference?
Another research paper in the program described a series of regressions on gay men in San Francisco. Their souls had the desire to actually be in the human body of women. This conclusion seemed to smack in the face of claims that gays and lesbians were afflicted by some kind of physiological or hormonal imbalance. It appears that these souls just happen to end up in bodies of a less preferred gender. I did some correlation in the database. The subjects evidently deal with it in the life by migrating towards others in the same situation.
This one is hard to buy, not even to say it is politically incorrect.
Hey, I don't make it up. Research is research, data is data.
If this is so, then why was that never made public?
Tut, Shali. This was a secret government black program. The people working on the project were not allowed to reveal anything about the PLR program. Besides, you have to realize this was nearly 30 years ago, and society was not as open as it is today. But anyway, there was a second and even more important discovery that came out from the program: soul pods.
I've been with you a year and a half, we talk about it and leverage it in the regressions. I've read all the books on past life regression and understand the basic concepts. So finally, yes, after all this time you are going to explain the pods to me.
We found in-depth studies on soul pods in the archives. As you know already, in the LBL period, clusters of souls hang around together in that dimension, or whatever it is. These souls often reincarnate in pairs or small clusters. Sometimes they are family members, wives, husbands, or good friends in different lives, in different times. But they also cluster by discipline. The archive studies showed that not only do many souls migrate towards the same disciplines in their different lives, they also cycle through lives in the same time periods with other souls who like those same disciplines. It's almost as if these soul pod buddies follow each other around through time.
Sort of like the Budweiser WhatsApp guys? Hanging out together.
Clay chuckled.
Yeah. Not quite, but sort of. These souls somehow find each other among the myriad of time, billions of people on Earth and other planets at any given time.
You've said it before. What's this about other planets?
That's another lunch.
Clay raised his eyebrows, shrugged his shoulders, and continued.
The correlation showed that linked souls did not always incarnate in the same scenario each time. One of them might be a mentor in one life and yet mentored in the next, or peers in one but deadly adversaries in the next.
Any good examples to make the point?
Yeah. Here's a good one. One pod of 3 souls contained Dr. Sun Yat-sen, founder of post-dynasty China in the early 1900s. He's like a George Washington to the Chinese. He broke China out of the dynasties. 2 of his leading students and protégés were Mao Zedong, Chairman Mao of mainland Communist Red China, and Chiang Kai-shek, leader of the nationalist Chinese, who were forced out to Taiwan by Mao. These 2, from the same pod, were arch-enemies most of their lives.
So who were they before?
Back in the 1800s, this same soul pod incarnated in the United States Civil War period as Abraham Lincoln, General Robert E. Lee, and General Ulysses S. Grant.
No way. Whose soul was who?
Sun Yat-sen's was Lincoln. Interesting enough, Sun's core philosophy for China's future was his Sanmin doctrine, or the 3 principles of the people. Historically, Sun was enamored with Abraham Lincoln, and even publicly admitted he took his Chinese Sanmin principle from Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. Even today, This doctrine is the political foundation of both Taiwan and mainland China. The San Min is even the basis of the national anthem of China today. Yeah, from Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, or should I say Sun Yat-sen's address. It's like he had unfinished business because of Lincoln's assassination, so he finished it in his next life as Sun, who just happened to be born or incarnated in China just a few years after Lincoln's death.
What about the other two?
Well, General Robert E. Lee was Chairman Mao's soul. General Ulysses S. Grant was Chiang Kai-shek's soul. Lee and Grant were both cadets at West Point and led adversarial roles in one of the worst civil wars of all times. Chiang went to China's military academy and fought with Mao in the same Chinese Revolution and in World War II against Japan. Then Mao became the leader of Communist China, while Chiang became leader of the Chinese nationalist Kuomintang Party. The two adversaries, who both revered Dr. Sun, led to tearing China into two pieces after World War II in their Great Civil War. Chiang Grant stayed on the side of Sun Lincoln, while Lee Mao spun off onto the revolutionary side. Two generals, two different Great Civil Wars. Same soul pod.
Oh, come on, Clay. This is hard to swallow.
I'm not done yet. In the preceding 1500 years, at 4 different times, these same 3 souls lived clustered incarnations as local village leaders or tribal chiefs. They always fought like hell, in some controversial leadership role in a societal conflict. The earliest clustered incarnation by this pod happened 2,000 years ago. They were known as the first triumvirate in the Roman Empire. The triumvirate consisted of Julius Caesar, Crassus, and Pompey, who came to power in 59 BC when Caesar was first elected as a consul. These 3 powerful leaders fought together, and at the same time fought each other for years. Within 15 years, this conflict led to the assassination of Caesar by the Roman Senate.
Shali chuckled.
𝐂𝐇𝐈𝐒, brute. He put a knife in his chest, huh? Was Brutus in the pod?
Smiling, Clay responded.
The study didn't say, but I'd speculate he probably was. You never know, unless you can find their incarnation today.
Did you ever go back and work off the original database regressions?
Absolutely. But you've got to figure, half of the subjects were over 30 or 40 when regressed by the Shri teams. After 20+ years, people die or move away without an easy track to follow.
How'd you ever get this treasure hunting idea?
Since the Research Institute was in the middle of Silicon Valley and I was out of work, I thought it would be great to do a venture-funded startup company. Think about it, soulmate.com. Come see us, and we'll find your soulmate. No more internet dating, no office affairs, no bar pickups. We find your soulmate for you. We'll tell you all good and bad things about this person, and how to avoid problems. No more divorces. Your perfect mate for life.
Shali laughed out loud.
Protocol 95? Did you ever try to look up your soulmate? Or even your podmates?
A slow, sheepish grin came across Clay's face.
Let's get back to Iqbal. The good stuff comes this afternoon in the LBL. We'll talk more about my treasure hunting later.
End of Chapter 5.